The door to another world. Adherents of the multiverse theory believe that the first writer to describe this phenomenon was H.G. Wells. He wrote a short story called The Door in the Wall or The Green Door, depending on the translation. The story is about a young man who, as a child, discovered a secret door to another world. Everything there was beautiful. Only in that magical land did he feel truly happy and like he mattered. But time went on, and he had to return to the cold and boring reality. The boy told no one about his adventure. Throughout his life, he was occasionally given the chance to open that strange, mysterious door again. It would appear to him unexpectedly during crucial and fateful moments. Another reality beckoned. But he never dared to open it. He once confided in an acquaintance, confessing that he had always wanted to change his life, that he longed for that fairy tale world, that his life could have turned out differently if only he had the courage. But he'd been a coward. Now, as a man, he was forced to do a job he hated, speak in Parliament, and signed all legislative documents. His life had lost all meaning. I read that story as a child, and it made a huge impression on me. Like many children of my time, I was a dreamer. The lack of internet and hundreds of satellite channels made us invent our own realities, embellishing them with intricate details. We could call a stick a rifle and run around for hours playing. War. Our favorite word was pretend. But these imaginary games didn't stop anyone. The world of childhood fantasy was just as real as the one around us. I remember how after reading that story, I kept looking for a door in the wall just like in the book. I too wanted to step into the unknown. A place where pretend becomes reality, not just make-believe. I'm not trying to compare today's achievements with the past. Each generation has its own kind of games. But somehow, I feel that the sense of magic being so close right around the corner is a privilege of those born in a different era. Reading the story as an adult, I wondered, what if the door opened today? Back then, as a child, I would have stepped through without hesitation. But now hardly. The older we get, the less courage we have. Notice how lately, every kind of psychologist is using the worn-out phrase. Step out of your comfort zone. It seems to me that this door is the very portal leading away from that so-called comfortable cocoon. A step into the unknown, the simplest and yet hardest way to change your life. But there's another fear. What if, behind the green door, no one needs us? Worse yet, what if our place in the sun is already taken? What if there's already a version of me and my circle on the other side? Then who is the person walking through the portal? Will they displace their parallel twin or live peacefully beside them? Have you ever thought about that? If we accept the theory that every step creates a new universe, a new branch of possibilities, then there's no room for two in the same reality. I am here and now. The other me or you is there, in that alternate space. In theory, we should never cross paths. Perhaps both versions would simply perish if they ever met. Remember what the mad scientist said in Back to the Future. He warned Marty that something terrible with a capital T would happen. Fans of that movie believe it's not really about time travel. The characters are slipping through branches of reality. Each small action in the past creates an entirely different future. The infamous butterfly effect. You know? Step on a bug or crush a flower in the past, and you completely rewrite the present. Once, when I was a child, I thought I had actually found that door. It was a strange feeling, and I clearly remember it happened in a dream. I saw myself standing at the crossroads of worlds, my own and countless others. A silent wind stirred the hair on my head. I was very small, like a grain of sand swaying in the waves of time. All it took was one bold step to cross into another space. But suddenly I got scared. In that very second, the world around me began to swirl and shrink down to the size of a matchbox. I, like Alice in Wonderland, began to grow. Within seconds or maybe billions of years, I reached normal size, and the universe collapsed into a tiny state. The paralysis that had gripped me lifted as if by magic. I looked around to see where I was, the same room, the same familiar surroundings and objects. Back then, we knew nothing about trance, meditation, out-of-body experiences, or the theory of the infinite universe. A child couldn't possibly comprehend what had just happened. Even now, it feels like my entire fate could have been decided in that single moment if only I hadn't been afraid to take the first step toward the unknown. I have no reason to believe that what happened that day was fiction. For many years afterward, I dreamed of that other universe. It wasn't even a dream, more like the state between falling asleep and waking. As soon as conscious thought would kick in, the vision vanished. The image of the world would spiral away and shrink into something like a matchbox once again. The older I get, the rarer that state becomes. Even having learned to meditate, I can't seem to catch the moment of a new world being born, let alone enter it. What gets in the way? Most likely, it's cold logic, refusing to let go and surrender to fate. By the way, do you remember how Wells' story ended? Tragically, the main character was found dead one morning on an abandoned lot. His friend assumed he had seen the ghostly door and tried to enter it. But that's just speculation. No one knows for sure what he saw in those final moments. Yet, as Wells writes, there was joy on the man's face. He had finally found the world he had been searching for since childhood. Maybe that's the real moral that holds us back from stepping through the green door. Because in order to enter that world, we might have to leave something behind. Most likely, ourselves.